So it's very nice to see you all this evening here. Thank you very much for coming again. I'd like to say something about the style of talk and maybe what we'll explore together this evening. So first, a little bit of background about me. My name is Amaranato. I trained in a monastery in England for 10 years called Amaravati, and for the last 4 years I've been a wandering monk. So I call myself a freelance monk. So I've been very generously supported by the BSWA, the Buddhist Society, this organisation, and the Cambodian Buddhist Society in Kelmscott. And there's a whole group of people that also support me in terms of bringing me out here, and I'm very grateful for their kindness in helping me run the programs that I do, and maybe I'll say a bit about that later on. So the style of talk that we give in the forest tradition and the way that I've been trained is that this is for reflection and is partly sort of spontaneous. So we just see where it goes. I have some idea of what I might say, but we'll just see. So the important thing with this is where you place your attention. Is place, say, 60 or 70% of your attention inside you, and only place about 30 or 40 on what I say. It's not actually important what I say, but how you react to it. That's what's important. So this is a reflective style. So as you can probably work out, I'm English, and I came out to Australia about 5 weeks ago. And I left England when it was 24 degrees, and in Australia it was 0. So there was actually a really big transition in terms of weather. And I really like to try and make this transition as conscious as possible. So being a wandering monk, I stay in different places. I was very fortunate to be offered a flat near Brighton, in London, and then for the last week in England I was staying with my mother, my family, and I started to consciously say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye to my brother, my mother, my friends, my monastic friends. I went and visited the monastery. We had some nuns. I have a Jewish background. The rabbi came. Say goodbye. Lovely female rabbi who've worked with a lot. So all these different people in England. I ran a family camp. I know a lot of people I've worked with for many years, saying goodbye to them. And of course there's pain in that. You know, if you make it conscious, then it tweaks the heart. You know, I think it's the most conscious I've ever been, to be honest, in my life. I transitioned a lot. I travelled a lot around the world. But this particular time, I really allowed it in. I really felt what that was like to transition. You know, and when one goes to the airport, you know, you really see this clearly, don't you? You see people, you know, either, you know, saying goodbye or welcoming, you know, and either welcoming with a little bit of nervousness, or saying goodbye with a bit of nervousness, or good riddance. Nice to see you go and do something else. Isn't it? I mean, this is the human emotions, you know. So my mum and my brother, we have this ritual. I've developed a ritual. Rituals are very important things, actually, if you do them consciously. Of bringing my mum and my brother to the airport, and we said goodbye, you know, and that moment when you walk through the door, you know, and the heart just contracts. It doesn't matter, you know. This is having a body and having connections. It's what it does, isn't it? It just pulls back, and then you've got to be with that. And there's nobody on the other side. There's nobody on the gate that says, "Oh, come on, Amaranath." So there's nothing like that. You're with it. So just allow myself to feel that and settle in and be in the airport and noticing what the airports do, isn't it? The distractions. Oh, that's a nice little laptop. Or, oh, look at that food shop, or whatever it is. No, what does it feel like? And what was completely amazing was I was at the airport at 7:30 in the evening, And my brother said, let's go and have a cup of tea. So we went to the cup of tea, and I'm getting a bit old and I need to go to the toilet all the time. So I went to the toilet, I come back, I turn around, there's a monk. Right, he comes up to me, and it's a monk that I know from the monastery in England. He's going to Portugal, I'm going to Australia. And I'd only seen him about last week. And I thought, how strange is that? That we go to the airport at the same time and I should meet another Buddhist Theravadan monk from a similar tradition. Isn't that, how weird is that? But when and what a gift actually, gift to each of us, to leave in that way. This is when we open our heart in this way, when we allow ourselves this way, what unexpected things can happen. It was quite extraordinary because when I flied via Dubai, and in Dubai there was a sign which said, "Welcome to Dubai, the centre of now." And I just thought, how Buddhist is that? How lovely. And I like to do fun things, and my brother works in Dubai quite a bit, so I left him a little note in one of the trees in Dubai, write him a little message. It's a fun thing we do, we send each other pictures. So this whole sense of making conscious transitions. So when I lived in this flat in England, this flat actually came with a 21-year-old. And the person that owned the flat, I've known for many years. I've known this young man for many years. He was on one of the family camps I run. So I've known him since probably a long time, 10 or 11 years. So he's a young man, so he has his life, he has a job, and he likes his drink, he likes his women. I'm a Buddhist monk, I'm celibate, I don't drink. But the first thing he said to me, actually, the first thing is when I walked in the door, he said, I want to cook you a meal right away. It's just really amazing, the generosity in his heart. Anyway, one of the evenings there, he came back slightly worse for wear. I'd say very, very wear. Completely and utterly, really, really drunk. Drunk as a skunk. Drunk as a skunk. So I heard him slam the door. It was late at night. I go to bed early. He comes in late. No problems. So anyway, I hear him in the kitchen, da-da-da-da-da. I go back to sleep. And then I wake up in a little bit later on, and I smell something in the flat. I think nothing of it. But somehow it's pulling me. It says, "Oh no, come on, get up." But don't worry about it. Anyway, I get up in the morning, and there the flat is full of smoke. And he'd put 2 eggs on in the evening and gone to bed. And the stove was red hot in the morning. The pan was burnt. And I'm an anger type in Buddhism, so I see the world through anger first. That's my first immediate response to the world is... So it's like this, what am I going to do? So what do? I think about it and I think, I'll clean the place up. So I clean the place up, clean it all up, tidy it up, open the windows, air the place, have my breakfast, get on, do my morning meditation and Qigong. He wakes up, oh my God, we could have killed each other. Oh, big flat, oh, I'm so sorry, what about killing a monk and all this stuff? So the whole the whole story, right? And my reaction is I want to roar at him. My personality wants to roar, but this says, don't do nothing. Take that energy in and use it to serve. What's the best thing I could do in this situation is not blame him. So I don't. I just say, bit dodgy. Right? But nothing else than that. And then I leave it. There's nothing else I say. And then an hour later on, he also cleaned up the place, tied himself up, and then he came in and we sat down and we talked, and we talked, and we talked, and we talked about all sorts of different things. Sex, relationships, jobs, money, what it's like to be a 21-year-old in England and, not particularly have a particular skill, wanting to do a particular profession and needing money and so on. Right? So two adults sat down, conversation, no roaring, no arguments, just get on with life. And then we talked about, and then he said, I feel really guilty. I said, yeah, the actions, the action wasn't particularly skillful. You're a very nice young man. Which is true. He's very lovely, very, very lovely young man. Right? So you can either do the whole story business, you can roar at each other and make it a big drama, or you can learn to actually use that energy to stay in relationship with somebody. Right? And you may say, Amaranato, you're a Buddhist monk, you know all about the precepts. You know all about that. Why didn't you tell him about the precepts? But what's your belief around that? What you're holding on to around that? So I didn't tell him that. I know that he knows the precepts back to front. Right? But he's got an incredibly reflective mind as well. And it's for us. We have to make those decisions. Nobody can really impose those things on us. You just have to let... I ran a young people's retreat. I run lots of them, but many years ago I ran one, and all the young people that I had on the retreat, a lot of them thought they knew a lot about Buddhism. So I said, you know a lot about Buddhism, you teach the retreat. I said, there you go, you come up front, I'll go at the back. The group was 50-50 with other bunch of teenagers. I said, you teach them. And they did. They were very honest about their precepts, how they did get drunk and that was society and all the rest of it, but they understood that they were working with the precepts and all the rest of it. It was a very skillful way of doing it. And that's part of society, isn't it? There isn't a society here right now which supports young people with not drinking. The culture is to drink. And to step out of that, you step out of a load of other things as well. So it's been a very, so anyway, just held him in this, this dialogue. It was really, really lovely. And I had another experience as well. I was walking through the station in London, and there was this, I'd say, reasonably old guy with a walking stick, and I had my luggage, and he's walking along like that, and I walked quite close to him, and I'm absolutely sure he knocked me. I'm sure he bumped into me. I can't be 100% sure, but I'm reasonably sure he knocked me. And the old Amaranato, actually pre-Amaranato should I say really, pre-Amaranato clicked in, and I turned around and I was going to knock him. We all know that, isn't it true? We know that in ourselves. We can have all this idea about, we're peaceful people, but when it actually happens, we want to turn around and we want to push the other person, don't we? It's only natural. So there we are. So turn around, and then mindfulness kicks in. All this training kicks in, and it just says, turn around, walk away, belly laugh. This is the beauty of this practice, of developing it here and on retreats or workshops or whatever it is, courses, to understand the nature of mind and catch yourself in that process. Catch yourself there, observe the reaction, and then realise, don't have to do that. I don't have to get involved with that. I don't have to struggle with that. Don't have to be that person. It's just such a simple act. And I was just speaking to somebody before this about this. In the beginning, it's a bit like learning to drive, isn't it? You can't get your hands and your feet together, and the hand and which one should I do first? It all gets really confusing. But then after a while, you work out, oh yeah, it's fine. Of course, if you've got an automatic, it's easy. But the old style cars, so the good old days. Anyway. You know what I mean. So, if you start to develop this and put attention into it, you start to see the world through this lens, even if your conditioning process is very strong. It's not that my anger personality has changed. It hasn't. But my response to it has definitely changed. It's much quicker. Doesn't feel it needs to do that anymore. Just walk away from it. And actually it becomes very joyful. Very joyful indeed. So each time I come here, I have these. I think about a title. The first year I came here, it was "Your Presence Makes a Difference." I really like that title. In fact, I'd just like to keep going with that endlessly, because your presence really makes a difference. Your presence right now makes this talk. Without you, this would be nothing. Well, I'd be talking to myself. I probably am anyway. Oh, God. But you know what I mean. So your presence makes a difference. Your willingness to be with whatever you feel right now, helps us to be together. And then last year I called it embracing wisdom. Right? Once you're present, you're willing to be present, then wisdom will arise. And are you willing to really embrace that? You see me doing a lot of this. It's not because there's another guy that did a lot of this as well, but this movement's really nice, right? It's all about embracing. Actually, if you look at St. Francis, he has these little people underneath him. It's a lovely image, actually. But it's this sense of, opening up to receiving, welcoming life. And then this year I've called it resting in uncertainty. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty around at the moment, maybe more than in a few centuries. There's a lot of things changing, like, for instance, our jobs, isn't it? I work a lot with young people in England, and I work in colleges. Here they call them TAFE, I think, T-A-F-E, tertiary colleges or something. And what they say in England is they can no longer train people for the jobs because they don't know what the jobs will be in 10 years. If we go back 10 years in time, with the jobs that we have now, we wouldn't have known what they were because technology is changing so fast. I'm a computer geek, right? My mobile phone, I think I would have sold this type of this type of technology when I was a layperson for something like £50,000. The technology that's in this, I was selling like... You see how fast... And that's only 20 years ago. So many things are changing, the way contracts are and, FIFO and all these different things. Yeah, and then institutions. Institutions are changing very fast. Governments are changing very fast. Left, right, middle, green. This one, that one, like that one, don't like that one, like this one a bit more. They only get 3 years in. How can they do anything? 5 years max, and then everything changes again. I think the best job to have is actually in branding and marketing, because everybody changes their logos all the time, don't they? As soon as the government gets in, change the logo, redesign the name of the department. So there are all these different structures. So where does that leave us? That leaves us in a place of uncertainty. So I wanted to really explore this, and as a freelance wandering monk, that's most of my life is like that. Here I'm very fortunate, I'm staying in somebody's house at the moment, suburb of Perth. And there's a cat, I must say he's a fat cat. I forget the name of it, it's a blue thing, there's a special name for them. Big fat thing like this. Doesn't do much. Thank you. So, I've never had an animal, I've never had a pet, okay, so give me a break. So me and the cat have got to get mates, and the cat's a bit depressed, I think, because the owner's gone away. And I'm saying, look, mate, tell us about it, right? And he's like... but he won't say... But he won't tell me. I'm not a mind reader, So, look... So he's waking me up at 4:30 in the morning, scratching on my door. How does he know that I'm in that room, for starters? Right? So he wakes me up at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm an anger type. So my first thing is rage, strangle the cat. Okay, that option is not available to you, Amranato. What's the next one? Okay, so I'll feel that anger, you know, and then I think to myself, look, I run parenting courses. I tell all these parents, you know, be loving kindness and be kind to your children. I've only been with a cat 5 minutes and I want to strangle it. And there's a big knot in my stomach. So I lie in bed, I don't get up, I lie in bed and I look at that feeling about what is that all about. Right? And when I notice what that's all about, actually I want a bit more sleep and I want my needs met first. Actually that's not compassionate. And as soon as I open up and embrace, receive that knottedness in the stomach, receive where that is, then there's a place where I can relax, I can actually, oh yeah, okay, I see, I understand. You need some food. Okay, so go out, give him the food, go back to bed for an hour, get up, meditate, start my day. But the cat's, I don't understand it. You know, sometimes he wants to go out, sometimes he doesn't want to go out. I open the door, the back door, he doesn't want to go out the back door, he wants to go in the front door. Then he sits there, right? Then he doesn't eat, and sometimes he wants to eat more, you know, and then somebody said, give him a blanket, it'll be cold. He doesn't want the blanket, he wants to sit on the floor. Then he doesn't want to sit on the floor, he wants to sit on the sofa. Then he sees the chair that I'm sitting in, and he wants to sit in that chair. I'm like, what's the matter with you? You know, I'm not a cat therapist, okay? Resting in uncertainty, isn't it? It's resting. I don't know what to do. You know, part of me, of course, wants to Google it, you know, find out what should I do. And, you know, it's been very interesting because it's been a full moon. The last week was a full moon. And I have a thing about full moons. I think they do affect us. And actually there's been a little bit of new research which says it certainly does affect our sleep. But what's really interesting is the neighbour, I've started to get friendly with the neighbours. And the neighbour comes in and I said, you know, the cat's been acting really weird. He said, oh yeah, it's a full moon. You know, it's a full moon. He wants to go out and stroll around or whatever. Actually, he doesn't. He doesn't even go, can't even make it to the end of the drive. Honestly, I've never seen him go further than the end of the drive. I'm feeding him like anything, and he doesn't do. And then I think, interesting. Maybe he was a monk in a previous life. So it is this, you know. So what do you rest in? What are you resting in right now? What are you resting in right now? You know, resting in your beliefs and thoughts and what you think is right, what you think we should do, what you think your family should do, your friends should do, what problems you have in your life. What do you rest in? At this point, I wanted you to get your mobile phones out and Twitter me. You know, I love technology. You know, there's this Twitter thing. I've got this Twitter called, the thing that I use is called Playful Monk. So get people to Twitter. What are you resting in? Rest in, hashtag, rest in what? What are you resting in? In your thoughts, your ideas, what you want to be, what you should be, what your parents told you ought to be, what society tells you ought to be, what Buddhism tells you what to be, and maybe what I tell you ought to be, isn't it? But that's all just ideas. How can one learn to trust oneself? How does one do that, you know? So for me, this trust, this rest, where does rest come from? I think a very interesting thing to explore. And want to tell you another little story. So part of my background is when I was about 16 or 17, I was actually kicked out of my home. My father said, you're not a very good son. Actually, I'd done no sex or rock and roll really, so I was pretty normal, but it wasn't good enough, and you have to go. So I was kicked out. So from that point onwards, of course, home didn't seem a really welcoming place. And surprise, surprise. And so for many years, I never went back to my home, and then I used to go back a little bit. But I never really stayed with in the end with my mother for more than a few hours. So it's for a long period of time, and then a few things changed, and then I ended up staying one day, and then there's a whole story involved with that. Maybe I'll tell another day. But my relationship with my mother has really developed and flourished and is completely amazing. And because it's so amazing, and because we've done the healing work, I've done the healing work, and that's had a knock-on effect, and she's done her healing work. She really wanted to come. I was here last year, and she wanted to come and visit me. She wanted to come out to Australia. So this is a 72-year-old woman. Her longest trip ever on a plane was to America. Her longest single journey as a single. My dad died, and so as a widow, her longest journey was on a bus to some English seaside, I think Totnes, which is about 5 hours from London. Right? So she says, "How far is Australia?" I said, "Oh, don't worry, it's about three of those trips to Totnes. It's only 15 or 16 hours." "Oh, yeah, okay, fine." So she says, "I'll come out." So I'm very fortunate. I have a very supportive brother. My brother paid for her to come out. I said, "Well, she says, "Oh, I'll come out for a couple of weeks." I said, "Oh, don't come halfway around the world for a couple of weeks. Come out for a month." So as I was speaking about this last year, very fortunate, somebody offered me their house. Said, "Bring your mother's coming out. You can stay in a house. We're going away." So there I was, got a fantastic house, very close to the beach, to Scarborough Beach. My mum comes. Now I think my mum's going to die on the way. So we have this conversation about what happens if she dies. She's 72-year-old. I mean, she's bouncing around. So anyway, she gets off the plane looking like 16, right? Like amazing. So we come in, and so we're living together, and I have to send her an email and say, "What food do you like? What should I get in for you? Because I don't know what food she likes. We've never done that. And she's always cooked for me, and all these things. So we negotiate the territory. I said, and I asked her, "So what happens if we have an argument? What are we going to do? Because we can't go anywhere. You got nobody, I got nobody here. We're going to be in each other's face for a month. Yeah, what are we going to do?" She says, "Oh, don't worry, we're not going to argue. I'm not going to die." Tell that to God. Anyway, so she comes, she arrives, and we have this absolutely fantastic time. And I decided I'm going to be the son and you're going to be the mother. That's it. That was my agreement. No funky meditation, no sitting, no nothing. I'm the son, you're the mother. That's how it's going to be. We're going to go down to the beach. And that's all we're going to do. That's all she wanted to do, really. And we had some really lovely friends around her who took us around and offered all sorts of different things. But basically, that's what we did. We just were in each other's company 24/7, actually, pretty much. She had a few friends. And so I said to her, "I want you to get whatever food, whatever you really want, please. We go down the supermarket, you just get whatever you want. I want you to have a really fantastic time. You're the mother, I'm the son." So we went there, went into the supermarket, some posh deli. "Come on, Mum, get whatever you want, it's fine. Don't look at the price. Don't compare it to England," all those things. Anyway, so she gets all this really nice food, bring it back in the house, puts it in the fridge, cooking away. A couple of days go past, I look in the fridge, she hasn't eaten the food. A couple more days go past, the food's going off. I'm an anger type. My mum's not eating the food. All this wasted money. And I'm like, I've got to tell her. I'm going to tell her. You're wasting the food. Mum, look, we bought all this nice food. You're waste. What a waste. Same thing again. Bring those feelings back in. Hold those feelings. What's that like? Feel this absolute rage. Sit there with it. Just hold it. Welcome it in, embrace it, hold it there, notice it. "Oh, wow, that's really amazing. I wonder how many times as a kid I did that. How many times my mum went out and got food that I liked and I wasted it? God, I must have done it hundreds of times. How many times? And all of a sudden it all went. The whole thing went. Just all that rose was compassion. Just like, this is not worth it, is it, Amaranato? No, it's not worth it. Why bother? My mum's having a good time. So what about a bit of food? You see what I mean? Resting in uncertainty. You know, we can come from, I'm conditioned like this and I ought to tell this person or do that thing. But in that moment, that all dissolved and I saw the conditioning process. You know, let her be the mum. Yeah, the compassion of a mum. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the most important thing in the world. I'm hugely passionate about this. Hugely passionate about mothers and the way that we bring children into the world. I've spoken about this a number of times, but it's really important. Because where we get our resting in comes from our mothers. Resting in starts off with mother. So don't worry about if you're a mother and you brought up your child and now you're all like da-da-da-da, voices in your head. You can still develop this at any age. I've proved that to myself because I've done it myself. But I can't say how important it is how we support mothers and women and fathers in that process. And this is a relational aspect. You know, the work that I do is all relational. I call it relational Dharma. It's about how we are with one another. You know. So you have to remember, every person in this room was in a woman for 9 months. You can't get more intimate or relational than that, I don't think. Do you understand that relationship? So the sense of how you're received, how you're welcomed, what you rest into on the conditioned level starts with that primary relationship. And there's a huge amount of science that talks about this. It's called pre- and perinatal psychology, before and after birth. I don't want to go into that all this evening, but I do want to say, you know, the importance of this relationship and how we can support each other in this process, how we can support women, and then how that has a knock-on effect within society and the violence that we see in society. John Prescott, if you want to Google, there's a guy called John Prescott in America has written a lot of papers about this, research work around this. So this whole sense of how we explore our conditioning process, how we are affected by one another and how we can be with one another, you know. How is it that in some certain situations, you know, we have this, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to behave in this situation. You know, what do I rest in? What do I be with? And what I'm encouraging is for you to be with the emotion. Emotion is a very interesting word, isn't it? It's got motion in it. You know, if you hang on to the emotion, you make it very fixed, tight. But if you allow it to flow, they come and go, isn't it? Are you the same person? You know, you've got the same emotion as when you come in the room right now. Is it still there? No, it's probably changed. Will you have the same emotion at the end? I don't know. But you can know the emotion right now. You can know that emotion right now. So there's a funny joke about a family, 2 balloons. So these balloons, mother balloon, father balloon, and little baby balloon. And mother and father balloon, they decide they want a night off. They want to sleep together with no disturbance from little baby balloon. So they say to little baby balloon, you know, you've got to sleep in your own room. Little baby balloon's really upset. Oh no, I like sleeping with the parents. And the parents say, no, you've got to. So they put the little baby balloon in. They go into their own room. Little baby balloon wakes up middle of the night, a little bit worried, decides, I want to be with my parents. Sneaks into the room, sneaks up onto the bed. He can't find any room. So he thinks, what should I do? So what he does is he undoes the knot of the father balloon and lets a little bit of air out, then ties it up. And then he goes over to the mother balloon and he lets a little bit of air out, ties up the knot again. He tries to squiggle in, can't do it, there's still not enough room. So he thinks, oh well, I'll take a little bit of air out of me. So he takes a little bit of air out, ties the knot, gets in there, falls asleep, wakes up. So anyway, they have a nice sleep, wakes up in the morning. And Daddy wakes up, looks around, feels absolute rage. He must be an anger type as well. Wakes up in a rage. And he says to the little baby, he says, look what you've done. You've let your mother down, you've let your father down, and then you've let yourself down. So this is the conditioning process. You see this is what we do to each other. And we use this language, you've let yourself down and la 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 la, all these types of things. So how can we understand that? And this is through mindfulness. So the work that I do is about working not only with mindfulness but understanding the conditioning process. You'll see some of my workshops, reparenting workshop, letting it go, finding your life, all these types of things. They're all about working with both aspects of ourselves. Mindfulness is this, and awareness is this really key tool, of noticing how things affect you, and then understanding your personality, your conditioning process. And the more that one does that, the more power and the more abundance and peace one has in one's life. Of course, the ultimate thing is just to let go, is to actually just trust. But this point of resting in is, if we've not really experienced what rest is like, we don't know how to rest. We've got no reference point to what to rest into. So the only thing that we do is we rest into activity. We rest into buzziness. Like, I'm committed to myself. I have 1 day a week off. Right? What does that mean? This week it meant I laid in bed all day. This Thursday I was in bed for most of the day. It's a very joyous thing to do. I really encourage it. No emails, no phone calls, no helping people, no helping myself, nothing. Veg out. Just, look after the body, look after the mind, do something completely different outside of all the framework, outside of meditation and blah, 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 self-development, all that stuff. Just be that. And allow and see what happens from that place, just to rest in that, another time, and then get an idea what rest really means, rest. What would you just like to rest in? Just to be, as we started off the meditation, resting in this, just resting in the present moment. So with this resting in, I'd like you to rest. And I like to show a video. Some of you know I like showing videos. This video is in Thai, so it has English subtitles. But it's such a lovely, I find it a very beautiful clip. So if you... So we can see how it's a lovely... it's really beautiful in terms of the Buddha's message. And I think culturally... how beautiful it is they've intertwined it. I understand about, companies have got to make money and all the rest of it. But the thing is just the beauty of receiving one's emotions, and the wisdom that comes from that. I'm running a course, an online course, particularly for FIFOs, and I've called it Gold Mining, Mining Your Stress. Yeah. So we can do all this outside. We can try and mine and find minerals and all the rest of it. But what about actually mining inside here and using our stress, using our life suffering to understand who we are at a much deeper level, and then finding freedom? And that comes back to what can one rest in. So I have a framework, this whole playful monk business needed a strap line. So I got a TLA, a 3-letter acronym, explore, play, love. And now I'm actually finding that now this is eating me. At first it was a little bit of fun, but actually now it's become quite a serious practice for me. This sense of, do we explore outside, or are we willing to explore inside? And if we talk about it relationally, then we're actually exploring together. Right now, we're actually doing this together. If you're placing your attention inside your body and seeing how things react, that's a co-exploration. You may not be saying anything right now, although you can do if you want. But the thing is, we're exploring together. It co-arises. You're willing to stay present in this situation actually allows then me to share in this way. So an exploration is around boundaries. When we go exploring, I was a Boy Scout, it's all about boundaries, rules. So that's the explore framework. And then play. Play is so important. Unstructured, free-form play. Play is the place that we learn at the most. It's the optimum place for learning. I'm going to speak about that in another talk, so I won't say too much about it tonight. But I think it's hugely important play. Play for children, play for adults. It's where we learn the most. And then love. Can we be kind to ourselves? We receive our feelings, receive our emotions. That's what we're built for it. It's interesting that the word fear and heart both have ear in it. H-E-A-R-T, heart, and then fear, F-E-A-R. It's a quality of listening. Can we listen to our heart? Core comes from the word courageous, from the word love and heart. It's courageous to do these things, courageous to explore, to see who you are, to find out who you are, who you really are, and to trust in that. So this whole sense of resting in, what to rest into. So as I was transitioning with my brother, we wanted to work out a way that we could transition together. It's another, this is another little story about, relationship and co-exploring together and being playful. So it's with my brother. My brother is 13 years younger than me. And so we have a completely different worldview in a way. And he's the youngest. And we tried to find ways of connecting. So he said, do you want to go to the cinema or go to one of those 3D movies? I've never been to the cinema in 15 years, so it's kind of strange. And I said, do you want to go and see Godzilla in 3D? Not really. And then I thought, let's go to, like me, arty type, let's go to the Pottery Cafe and paint things. Oh, no, I don't like doing that. Then we each tried to Google, same thing, what's on in London, what's different, all that, keep going, nothing, headlocks, what should we do? And I thought to myself, tell you what, why don't we go and have a spa day? Monk having a spa day. I know it's something that he really likes doing. He likes having spa days. So organise it, come on. So he gets on, so let's organise this spa day. So me and him go to a spa day. This is all part of my exploration as being a wandering monk. Do the spa business. So we turn up, he drives me to this spa, we turn up. Guess what the name of the spa is called? Nirvana! I have been to Nirvana. In fact, it's the second time I've been to Nirvana, because the first time I've been to Nirvana is actually in Malaysia. Right? They've got a funeral place called Nirvana, and it's very expensive to get in, I can tell you. So my second time in Nirvana. So we walk in. Of course, I'm a little bit self-conscious with my robes and all that, being in Nirvana. I think I'm going to get a discount or something. Anyway. So anyway, it's this dead posh place. Go in there. And we look down, and it's got a flotation tank. Right, flotation tank. I don't know if you know what a flotation tank is. A flotation tank is a huge, big pond, big pool with lots and lots and lots and lots tons of sea salt in, and you get in the water and you float in it. Oh, and I said, I'd like to have a go at that. That sounds great. And he said, so he puts that on the things of what we can do, and we arranged a time So me and him, we go in and we get this instruction about how to get in, because you float, immediately you get in, you float. So we get in and she tells us how to get out, so we get in, both get in there. And it's got a current in it, it's got a whirly, it sort of pushes us around. So you've got nothing to do, half an hour, the lights go off, they play some cheesy music, and you just lie there, right? It's the most amazing experience. I tell you, you know, so and I think about this whole resting in, I'm going with my arms again, I can't help it. Resting in uncertainty, right? I just lie, so you lie back in this water, right? Nothing to do. And for me, it's such a familiar place. Do you know what I mean? This is, you know, I just rest back there. The body disappears. There's no memory in order to reconstruct a body. You don't need to do that, right? So the body disappears. Got breath, awareness. Oh, jeez, this is fantastic. Yes, immediately the body goes into this, not relaxes, goes into very, very, for me anyway, deep relaxation. And just resting there. How lovely is this? You know, and why should that be dependent on any particular condition? That's what we can have access to all the time. We have the same thing in our meditation. We can do. Just by letting go of the body. Letting go and receiving or resting is the same thing for me. You know, we receive our experience. You know, and when I do this, you know, I hear the sound of silence. And there's nothing to do. It's all right. And it's just this moment. You know, I'm not saying you all rush out and get one of these things in your houses, but as an experience, you know, just to receive life in this way. It's really absolutely delicious experience, you know. And this is awareness, just receiving motions of beingness. We're all set. There's nobody that's not in this room that's not set up to do that. I really believe that. If you're willing to receive who you are, receive it all. And sometimes it's completely overwhelming. I understand that. You know, sometimes so many different things happen, and you know, one can really wobble and all the rest of it. But even with that, you know, and sometimes one has to distract myself. I'm really into distraction. Conscious distraction is very important when it gets too much. When it's too much suffering in your life, you have to step out and have a break. You learn this on long retreats. When you go on long meditation retreats, you know, so I go on these long silent retreats where there's no teacher and I have to manage it, you know, and sometimes too much comes up, you know, and then you have to put the brakes on, step back a bit. So I want to finish with one story. The story is about a hunter, and this hunter, as a young kid, was bullied. Anyway, he was down the pub with his mates, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to go out hunting now." So he goes out into the forest. Goes into the forest, a really beautiful tree, and he looks up and he sees these beautiful birds, and they make this sound, going, "Nya, nya, 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 nya." He suddenly remember those kids in school, the way that they did that to me. And nya, 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 nya. Pulls out his thing, bop, arrow, straight into the parrot. On the floor, picks up the parrot, puts it in its bag. Walking through the forest, all the way back, and he hears this. Gosh, it's a bit strange. Anyway, he runs back to his house, takes the bird out, slaps it on the table, gets out its cutting equipment, cuts up the thing, chucks it into the water to cook it up, and he hears this. Absolute rage again, picks it up. What am I going to do? Put it in the ground. So he digs a big hole, puts it in the ground, covers it all up, comes out and hears it. He says, "Oh, I don't know what to do." He says, "Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it all in a box. I'm going to take it down to the river. I'll throw it in the river." So he throws it in the river. Goes down the river a bit more, and his friends at the other end Fisherman throws his line in. Oh gosh, that's a bit heavy. Winds it up, brings up this big box, opens up the box, and out of the box 100 birds come out. And they go back to the tree and they sing, nee, 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 nee. So the thing is, this is about awareness. We can do whatever you can do whatever you want with it. You can try and cut it up and box it up and put it away and try and hide it. You can do whatever you like with it, but it will come back because it's your true nature. It's who you are. It doesn't matter, whatever you do, you can stamp on it, you can try and get ill or excited or whatever condition you want to put on top of it, but underneath it, that awareness is what you are. And that you can have that for free. That doesn't belong to anybody. It doesn't belong to any religion or any conditioned thing. It's who you are. And to rest in that and trust it, to come from a place of responsiveness rather than responsibility. Responsibility is a burden, right? But the ability to respond, the willingness to receive life as it is, you know. I've been in so many tricky situations as a wandering monk, you know, just what to do. Receive it. This is the way it is right now. Ajahn Sumedho, the person I live with for a long way, this is the way it is. Okay, this is the way it is, Amranato. You ain't going to get out of it. So, what? Open up. Oh, it's painful. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, it is. Is it too much? No, okay. So let's see what happens. Let's see how it can transform. And anybody can do this. Anybody can learn this. Really. So this is my encouragement for this evening, to really trust in this. And if you want to explore with me and the people that I work with, you know, I'm running all these different things. Some of them are reasonably full already. I'm running a whole load of workshops and courses, and in particular I'm running 2 retreats. One is a weekend retreat at Nanga Bush Camp. This is a really lovely way, and it's based on community, on relationship, and it's in nature, honouring and I forgot to honour the country. I apologise for that, but honouring the country, bringing in the land, and exploring mindfulness in that way. And then I'm also running a 9-day retreat at Jhana Grove called A View from Your Heart, which really takes what I said this evening and puts it into practice in a meditation retreat. So my retreats are not silent, mostly silent, but 2 periods in the day we explore together in circles and in groups, in pair work, and we explore what it is to be in relationship, so that when you leave the retreat you can actually take your experience and use it in daily life. Right? Because we're relational beings. Right? Unless you live as a hermit, our life is relational. So if we can learn how to deal with that, we can learn how to communicate, be authentic, be vulnerable, be courageous, all these funky words that you hear popping out left, right and centre. In life, you can receive life, right? And if you understand about who you really are, then you can let go of all of that as well and rest in peace, in freedom. And this 9-day, particularly at Jhana Grove, because it's such a beautiful retreat centre. It's so well set up. The support is really there. But it's such a good opportunity, even if I'm selling it like mad. It's a really beautiful place. So if you like to join me and some of the other people, I'd really like to meet you and see you there. So that's enough for this evening. If I've said anything that upsets anybody, just leave it with me. That's fine. You know, if you really like it, tell lots of other people. If you don't like it, yeah, don't. Just leave it here. I'm willing. What I'd normally say is, those that want to go, please go now. And anybody that would like to ask a question, you can hang around. I'm willing to ask a question in a public situation or one-to-one afterwards. But those that like to leave can leave, and anybody that I'd like to ask a question can ask a question.